This is the method that I get asked about all the time. Scripting a podcast is not just about the words you say, it's about how you arrange your show in a way that the whole thing becomes stronger. We call it modcasting because our shows are built out of modules. Now, more on how that works here in just a second. So often we put our time and energy into having a catchy name and really nice cover art and beautiful edits. While those things can be nice, they are not the reason your show will or will not be victorious. Your success is going to come down to one thing, and that is the quality of your content. I define success with podcasting as getting people to not only click on the episode and download it, but also to listen and listen intently. Maybe not do so much multitasking as people often do. Stay through until the end or almost the end, and then take the appropriate action that you want them to take. Then going and telling a friend about the show, and then coming back for more episodes. That's what success should look like. In all my years as a professional radio personality, millions of dollars in ad revenue were at stake. And so we had to get people to not just listen, but listen closely, and then listen longer, and then come back and listen again. And that's why we don't call what we do podcasting, because a module-based podcast or a modcast will achieve all of those things and make it easy to create your content each and every time. By the way, I'm showing you how to build a podcast step by step, just one task per day, as I build my new show, The Done by Lunch Entrepreneur. And if you want to follow along, you can find the playlist with the whole series on my channel. So is traditional podcasting really broken? No, as long as your podcast is just a hobby. But for entrepreneurs, doing podcasting the way it's always been done won't cut it, because it's usually like, hey, here's what we're going to talk about today, and now we've talked about it, and please like, share, and subscribe. Instead of one big chunk of content, with modcasting, as I said, we design our show out of modules, where each module has a job, and then the modules strategically support each other, making the overall episode much, much stronger. I show clients the whole thing in our 30-day Modcast Accelerator program, but here's the basics to get you started with modcasting. Now, as I said, podcasting traditionally has just been one big chunk of content, right? The core content, as we call it. And with a modcast, we're still gonna have that core content. That's that reason that somebody clicked on the episode because you said, I'm gonna solve this problem for you, or I'm gonna entertain you in this way, or I'm gonna interview this interesting person and we're gonna talk about this topic. But then we build around that. So we might have a specific module designed to add social proof to the show. We might have a specific module designed to build your authority. And by the way, if you get uncomfortable saying nice things about yourself or talking about yourself, you're gonna want a module to build your authority. If lead generation is one of your goals, like it is my primary objective for my new podcast, The Done by Lunch Entrepreneur, then you're gonna want a module to help you generate leads. And another one of the big problems with traditional podcasting is unless you somehow get ranked on the charts, they're really hard to grow. However, we add a module designed specifically to grow your audience. So these are all the types of things we did when designing our radio shows. Now we've applied it to podcasting. And these different pieces make up one modcast episode. So that's a high-level overview, but let me just give you some examples of specific modules. One module we use in our strategy is called the conversion module. And yes, most podcasts have a call to action, but if you really want to convert people to take an action, you got to approach things a little bit differently. And we have a video earlier in this series in this playlist on my channel if you want to learn more about that. A great authority building module is a podcast intro that plays in every episode. We call it a vibe check module because it's the module that is going to help your new listener or viewer go, what's the vibe like here? Am I going to like this? And you want your vibe check module or your podcast intro to attract your perfect people as well as repel the wrong ones. By the way, I am doing a video about podcast intros in this series, and that'll be coming up soon. That's one of our big promises with modcasting is we'll help you design a show that will grow your authority, generate leads, and become all of your social media content in about an hour a week. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to quitpodcasting.com to check out that program. But one of our favorite modules for growing your audience is to have intentional parts of the show or modules that you're going to turn into short form videos. Short form videos on Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikToks, and even now LinkedIn are the only type of content on social media designed to reach people who haven't followed you yet. Now, in just a second, I want to show you how I had a clip of my show not only bring a whole bunch of new people to my podcast, but also help to make $1,000 from the podcast from someone who didn't even listen to the episode. But here's what this can look like visually. One module can become a piece of content that goes in your community, and that could bring more people to the podcast episode, or it might serve another purpose. Meanwhile, your core content could be turned into clips that could go on YouTube. In some cases, they may be optimized for search so new people can discover you. Another module could be designed specifically for growth and turned into a short-form video like a reel or a short. But I want to clarify something that this is not. This is not traditional repurposing, which is like take your content and then later on go through and find a bunch of ways to use it in new ways that generally weren't as good as the original content. We call this multi-purposing, where we are designing the show to become content that is just as good as the original content, if not better, and way faster to make, because again, you're doing it with intention from the very beginning. So here's how this can actually work as your entire content funnel. So we've got each episode right there in the purple. And as I showed you, a YouTube clip could come out of that, as well as getting direct leads from the episode and short form videos like reels and shorts. The SEO optimized YouTube clip and the reel or the short can drive people back to the full episode. And then each of those things can go wherever you need them, whether it's go to your website, to book a discovery call, or in some cases to go right to a sales page. And again, each episode can achieve all of this. Here's a specific example. I had an episode of my podcast, The 6 Ways, which I took a clip out of and turned it into an Instagram reel. When I pulled this screenshot, this clip had reached over 22,000 people. Spoiler alert, I don't have 22,000 followers on Instagram. In fact, you can even see in the red box, it only reached a few hundred of my actual followers. But I was able to reach over 22,000 people who didn't know who I was and didn't know what my podcast was. A podcast alone is very unlikely to do that. Then some of these people from Instagram went and listened to the full podcast episode. And of course, not all 22,000 of them did, but some of them went on to work with me. And whenever someone signs up to work with us, I say, hey, where did you hear about us? And she specifically mentioned this clip on Instagram. And I asked her later if she went and listened to the full podcast episode. She never did. She saw the clip, she looked into me, and she signed up and invested $1,000 into one of our programs. So in this case, this podcast episode earned $1,000 from someone who never even listened to it. That's what can happen when you take this modcasting approach. By the way, if you want to make this easy for yourself, download our Profitable Podcasters Playbook, where it's got all the steps from this podcast series, and by having it, you won't miss any of the important parts. Now, I want to give a word of warning. A lot of people have been asking about what gear do I need for podcasting, and the loudest people on the internet will tell you that you need thousands of dollars in gear and all of this expensive, complicated equipment. The truth is, the amount of gear you need is way less than most people think, as I'm showing you in the video on the screen right now, or if you don't see it on your device, find it linked up in the description.